Today, we will be tying the half and half fly, a great fly for both saltwater and predatory freshwater fish. This is McFly Angler.
Starts now.
For a hook, use a strong but sharp stainless hook like these Gamakatsu SL11-3Hs. Today I'm tying it in a 3/0. Place your hook securely in your vise. For thread, use a strong thread like this Vivus 140 power thread. Since I'm tying this in electric chicken color, I will be using chartreuse. Start your thread behind the eye of the hook and bring it back to about 2 hook eye lengths. So this is about the spot we will be putting the dumbbell eyes. So bring your thread back just a few wraps and then back up partially. Then go back and forth to create a thread base to put the dumbbell eyes on. Stop with your thread back in the spot we discussed earlier, about 2 eye lengths shy from the eye of the hook. For dumbbell eyes, I like these painted lead dumbbells. You probably want to use lead when tying with such a beefy hook. It will ensure that the hook stays keeled. Tie in the dumbbells with tight X wraps. Then under wraps. This is where having a strong thread comes in. You will be putting a lot of torque on the thread to lock these eyes in tightly. The tighter it is, the less chance they will spin after a strike from a powerful fish. Then bring your thread back to the start of the bend of the hook, and then back up to right behind the dumbbell eyes. This will create a thread base for your materials. To further secure the eyes on, I like adding a bit of super glue, and this brush-on Loctite makes for easy application. Brush some on top of the eyes and in the spaces underneath. Now we will need some bucktail. I am using chartreuse for the bottom portion of the fly, so clip off a small amount, about this much, from the base of the bucktail. Grip the base tightly with one hand and then pull out the extra long fibers like so. Then grip the tips and pull out the shorter fibers as well. Measure the fur to extend back from the hook bend, about a hook shank length from right behind the eyes. Then cut the fibers flush at that measurement. Push the fibers up against the eyes and tie it in directly on top of the hook shank like so. After making a few wraps at the base of the fiber, then make open spiral wraps down the hook shank to the start of the bend of the hook. Then bring your thread up a wrap or two like so. Now we will need some hackle feathers. I have this beautiful chartreuse grizzly saddle that will work great. The feathers up to the top of the saddle are very long, and we just don't need that length. So I'm selecting some from this area, which are a little shorter and more webby. You could also use something like this, a whiting streamer pack. They come in multiple colors, but I only have white right now. You can see the tips of the feathers are more round, which could be what you want, but it's up to you and what you're looking for. Select 4 feathers from the cape. I ripped out a few extra to select the best ones. Okay, this one is not fully grizzlied, so I won't be using that one. Okay, here we go, 4 similar sized feathers. Align the tips as close as you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. Then measure out to about 2 times the hook shank length. Strip off the feathers from the hackle stem at that measurement. Cut off the rest of the feather, giving yourself a little room. Finish stripping off the excess fibers. Select 2 feathers and align them, one on top of the other, with the curves angling the same way. With the curve angling away from you, strip off a few extra fibers from the bottom of one set of feathers. Then do the same thing with the other set, but strip off the extra fibers from the top of this set. Now with the first set that had feathers stripped off from the bottom, tie this in on the side of the hook. These feathers will want to rotate on you, but try to keep them oriented flat against the side of the fly like so. Now I saw this technique from Tight Lines Productions on their half and half video, and I thought it was pretty helpful. These feathers could rotate easily, so they recommend adding a light brush of UV resin on the base of the feathers to keep them secure. The resin I'm using is Solarez Ultra Thin, which is nice because it soaks in quickly and has a brush applicator that makes it easy. Anyway, cure the resin into place, and those feathers should stay put. Now tie in the other set on the other side, ensuring that the feathers stay flat and the extra stripped fibers are facing towards the hook point. If you have trouble getting either set of feathers to stay flat, You could always pull the feathers back and forth until it wants to sit straight, like so. Add a brush of resin to this side as well and then cure it into place. Snip off the excess stems. Then clean up that section with a few wraps, ending with your thread right behind the dumbbell eyes. Now we need some flash. I'm using pearl crystal flash. 3 strands should be sufficient. Loosely align the tips of the flash and then tie it in so it extends back just about as far as the bucktail does. You can make it longer if you want, but don't have it extend back further than the feathered tails. Tie the flash down on one side like so, and then pull the forward-facing strands rearward and tie them down on the other side. And then trim off the waist to about even with the other side. Tie this down to about the start of the feather tail, and then come back up right behind the hook eye. Actually make a thin thread base behind the hook eye, and end with your thread just in front of the dumbbell eyes. Now we need some more chartreuse bucktail. This time we're clipping off some from the tip of the tail, and we need about double the amount as before. Clean up the fur the same way as before, stripping out the extra long and short fibers. Now we want this to extend back about the same length as the previous bucktail, so measure it and trim off the butts flush so they will be right behind the eye of the hook. The dumbbells can get in the way and make tying it in tricky, so I find that if I angle the bucktail out sideways slightly, like this, with the butts towards me, then make 2 loose wraps, and then make more tight wraps to cover the bucktail butt ends, the thread will push the bucktail up straight on top of the hook like so. This can take a little practice, but it's not too difficult once you get the technique down. Make many tight wraps to cover the bucktail, and tie back tight against the dumbbell eyes. Then jump your thread under the eyes to right behind them, and make a few tight wraps to bind the bucktail down right behind the eyes. Now make open spiral wraps down the shank, ensuring to keep the bucktail directly on top of the hook shank, and end with your thread right at the base of the tail. Now push down with your thumb and rotate slightly to flare out the bucktail at the base. Make open spiral wraps back up the shank and end with your thread right in front of the dumbbell eyes. We now need some hot pink bucktail. Select about as much as the last clump of chartreuse bucktail, further up towards the tip as well. Clean up the fur in the same way, pulling out the longer and shorter fibers. Then measure out this bucktail to extend out slightly further than the chartreuse, but not as far as the feather tail. Cut off the butt ends flush so they will sit right behind the hook eye. Tie this in on the underside, which actually will be the top of the fly, angled in the same way as the last bucktail clump. Let the thread rotate the fur for you. 2 or 3 loose wraps is sufficient to hold it into place. Then you can softly pull back the bucktail if it is crowding the hook eye. Once the positioning is good, then bind down the butt ends with tight wraps, ensuring that it sits directly on top of the hook like so. Now, like the chartreuse bucktail, use your thumb to spread out the fibers a bit. Then tie down even tighter with your thread, up and down the head to cover all the bucktail completely, and make a chartreuse head on the fly. One thing I like about this thread is that it is flat, so here I am spinning my bobbin counterclockwise to uncord the thread, so it lays flatter. This way I can cover the head more evenly and without as many wraps. Once the head is covered and smooth, then you can whip finish your fly. Always whip finish from the rear to the front in order to make a nice smooth whip finish. Also, the eyes can get in the way, but if you pull your bobbin back and rest the thread on the space between the hook and the dumbbell eyes, it will come out cleaner. Cut off the thread and your fly is now finished. Now for added security, I am painting on more of the ultra thin resin. Paint some into the gaps of the eyes, over the bucktail, and thread wraps as well. I like doing this in steps. First the top and then the bottom. Cure the resin and then rotate the fly and paint the resin underneath as well. Over the dumbbells, the whip finish, and I even paint some on the spine going back to the tail section as well to really make these durable. You can even up the resin with a little more on top and then cure it hard. This fly combines the jiggy and darting motion of a clouser minnow with the flowing feather tails of a deceiver, hence the name half and half. It's half clouser and half deceiver. They can be tied in a number of color patterns, as all these materials have an almost endless array of colors available. As you can see, they move nicely in the water, and with the heavy lead dumbbells, they will sink quickly. As you all know, I work closely with Risen Fly. They carry their own line of rods, reels, and even hooks, and other fly tying materials. For instance, today I use their amazingly sharp and durable razor scissors. Their prices and quality are unmatched in the industry. Best of all, they're offering all of my subscribers an even deeper discount. So go to www.risenfly.com and type in McFly at checkout for a discount on your first order with them. I also was able to get you all a discount with Dooley's Fly Fishing. They offer all the name brands and fly tying materials. In fact, they are my main supplier for all my materials I cannot get with Risen Fly. Their prices are great as well, and with the extra discount I got you guys, you won't find name brand materials at better prices anywhere else. So go to www.dooleysflyfishing.com and type in McFly at checkout for a discount with them as well. I am constantly working at getting you guys all discounts where I can get them, and I am very grateful for these two companies allowing me to offer you all discounts. I am picky, however, on who I work with, and I want to make sure they offer great prices and also excellent customer service. Both of these companies have been the best I've ever worked with, especially for their customer service, so definitely utilize this. If any of you have experience with these two companies already, please comment on the level of service you've received in the comment section of this video. Everyone I talk to only say great things about them, and I love hearing about it. Well, thanks for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.